Hello, hello. For those who are here, give me a minute while I get situated on our little new format. Excuse us. One second, everyone. Cool. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Give me a second here. Getting everything organized and coordinated. Okay. All right, cool. Can everyone hear me? Can someone drop in the chat and say, yes, I can hear you. I can see you. We are good. Amazing. Perfect. Hello, hello. Hey, Kala. All right, we are going to get started. So you may wonder why I have everyone here talking to an empty Zoom room. Hey guys, hello everyone. For one, I wanted to try out the Zoom webinar format. It allows me to deliver sort of high quality, uninterrupted wine content, which is available for playback, which I think is important because not everyone can join at a specific time, right? So if people miss tonight, they can join and click the link after the fact, which is great. Cool. Carl, it says raised hand, but I think you were maybe just saying that you can hear me, which is awesome. Okay, cool. So with that being said, since this is a new format, I would love to hear your feedback. Please drop me a DM on social media. We're going to drop that in the chat here and let me know what you think. This is a new format, like I mentioned. I just want to hear your thoughts about what worked, what didn't work. I'm toying with the idea of hosting these, excuse me, once a month. So we'll see how this goes and decide if I want to move forward. Maybe we do it with a particular theme. So in January, we can do something like wine and wellness. Maybe in February, we talk about wines that conjure up romantic thoughts. I don't know, something like that. We'll figure it out and we'll see if that's what we want to do. So who am I? There were a lot of people that registered of names I did not recognize. So that's awesome. If you do not know me in the real world, what do the kids say? IRL? IRL, right, honey? If you don't know me in the real world, let me just explain who I am for those who don't. In a normal world, I produce large-scale nonprofit events, and I also deliver wine education in private settings and also in corporate settings as a team-building activity. I judge in international wine competitions, and I hold the WSET diploma certification, which just means I spent way too much money drinking wine, but c'est la vie, it was worth it. So since COVID, with the event side of my business, as you can imagine, has totally been in hibernation, and I am solely focused on delivering really virtual wine education, okay, through my Virtual Vino brand. You can learn more at my website, briannecohen.com, which will drop on the chat box. Hey, Michelle, she loves my room. By the way, this is not my dining room. I wish it was. This is a lovely green screen. It's probably like Z Gallery or something. All right, so how is this going to work? I have 12 bottles that I'm going to share with you tonight. 12 bottles that will get me out of this godforsaken year and into 2021, right? Yeah. So as I share these bottles, my amazing husband, who is on the clock tonight, he's right here. He's going to be dropping in the details of each wine in the chat box. So the producer, the vintage, the price, all of those details, right? So if you have any questions, whether it's about a specific wine or just wine in general, drop them in the chat box as well. I can, see and follow along. Honestly, anything. Like I said, it doesn't have to be just about these wines. If you have questions, this is your wine safe space. So no question is dumb. I'd love to just help you drink better and up your wine game. All right. So this webinar, like I mentioned, will be available post-event. So you'll get a link with all the details later. And speaking of what is everyone drinking, I am not drinking today because I'll be talking the whole time. So I do have some water. But if you're drinking a beverage of any sort, please drop it in the chat. Let me know what you got. I'd love to hear more. I'm just going to switch the chat. Okay, perfect. All right. So let's get started. So most people, when you think of winter, we're in December here, you think of red wines, right? You think of red wines in wintertime. And yes, red wine reigns supreme this time of year. But most of us still like our lighter wines, and I think it's important to share some of those as well. So let's begin with white wine, and I have 3 whites to share with you, okay? So let me grab those real quick. All right, so we begin with wine number 1. Rusty, who submitted a webinar registration, said he loves Riesling, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Ooh, Douglas just finished a Languedoc. Alicia likes her sparkling. Okay, perfect. So we have wine number 1, which is the Trimbach 2018 Classic Riesling. I know there's a lovely glare. Sorry about that. This retails for $27.99 a bottle. This is a classic. So with a woman at the helm, Trimbach is moving into modernity here. Anne Trimbach is the 13th generation winemaker in her family, and they have been making wine since 1626, which is pretty crazy. We are in, oh, Bethany says that's what she's drinking tonight. I love that. We are in Alsace, France, okay, which is right at the border of Germany, in a region known for making superb Riesling, okay? Many have a perception that Riesling is only sweet, and that's not the case. Riesling runs the gamut. There's a whole spectrum of Rieslings from bone dry to cloyingly sweet, yes. This is not the case, okay? So in Alsace, the Rieslings tend to be bone dry, like this one, very floral and really pretty when young, and they develop this really lovely gunflint minerality with age, which is just something that I absolutely love. You're definitely gonna find high acid and really, really pure fruit with Alsatian Riesling. German Rieslings tend to be steely and have high acid. I think of like a German man. That's how I remember Alsatian Riesling versus German Riesling. I don't know what Alsatian man is like. Maybe they're like a German. Maybe someone can tell me. So this is a great Riesling to help sort of ground yourself and help to understand Riesling. All right, perfect. So let's move on to wine number 2. All right, wine number 2. This is one that I had to work on my pronunciation actually. So we're in Austria, okay. And this wine is called Fahrstuhl Gruner Veltliner from Weinviertel DAC in Austria. Weinviertel is the region in Austria we're talking about. So this is another lovely old world wine, Gruner Veltliner from Austria. So if you've never had Gruner, I suggest you give it a try, especially if you like really wildly aromatic wines. This is a really great one to try. Gruner tends to have notes of citrus, white pepper, honey, lots of different fun things. Also, my marker for Gruner is ginger. That's always what I would, when I would do blind tastings, if I felt ginger or if I felt like a candy ginger feeling, I'd go, I might have Gruner in my glass, okay? Really that pungent spice note. So this is a Fahrstuhl. Sorry if I really butchered that. I do my absolute best with pronunciation, but it is not my strong point, is another family-run operation. Mom, dad, son, and daughter run the whole show, which is pretty impressive for Wine Enthusiast European Winery of the Year in 2016. This wine clocks in at $18.99 a bottle. Oh, Michelle has something, oh fun. A Riesling Pinot Bianco, very cool, from the Dolomites in Italy. Okay. Oh, Carl just asked, what are some food pairing suggestions with Gruner? I really love Thai takeout, Vietnamese takeout, things like that. A little Asian spice goes really well with Gruner. All right, so we are moving on to wine number 3. Okay, we have, back to our comfort zone actually, because we just did some, pretty exotic wines, right? So Miss Chardonnay, let's talk about Chardonnay. Here I have the Roaming Dog. There we go, Roaming Dog Chardonnay from Columbia Valley, 2019. This is $14.99 a bottle. Oh, Miss Chardonnay. If I ever have a drag name, I am pretty darn sure it is going to have the word Chardonnay in it. Any ideas for my drag name? If you do, drop it in the chat box. I don't know. I just have always had this fantasy of having a drag name with Chardonnay in it. We'll see if it materializes. This Chardonnay is anything but Chardonnay. Okay, see what I did there? We are in Washington State, which is Washington State is great for really good values in wine in the United States. So don't sleep on Washington State, okay? This wine sees no oak, okay? So you ABC crowd can kind of calm down. Does everyone know what ABC is? I'm sure we do, right? ABC are the people that are anything but Chardonnay. People who are just like, oh, I don't like the oak, I don't like the butter, so I don't like Chardonnay. And did you know that unoaked Chardonnay should actually taste like little tart apples? Crab apples is what always comes to mind when I think of unoaked Chardonnay. Not butter, not oak. Butter and oak are just stylistic choices. There's actually nothing wrong with them. They're just a matter of preference. And so people kind of get caught up on, I don't like oaky, buttery Chardonnay. It doesn't all have to be. And at 14 bucks a bottle, I think this is a pretty darn good price for a nice, crisp, clean Chardonnay. Okay, let's move on to wine number 4. All right, wine number 4. So we're moving on to another category, so you might be able to see it. Pink. Okay, perfect. So we have the Chateau de Berne Inspiration Côte de Provence Rosé for $20 a bottle. Lots of people wrote in that they loved rosé as their favorite. Nicole, Connie, Laura. So, rosé all day, rosé bay. Remember when you couldn't give a glass of White Zinfandel or blush away? Remember those times? Actually, let's even think back to remember when that's what rosé was called. I think Americans have had PTSD for so long from that era. There was a window in time where nobody would drink anything pink, right? And then it seems like all the wine marketers got together and said, let's do it. Americans are ready for it. And it was rebranded as Rosé, delivered as a dry wine, really elegant style. And voila, here we are with all the hashtags, all the shirts, everything's about rosé, right? And actually rosé is I think it is the fastest category of wine, that is the fastest growing wine category in the United States. So it is, it's on a roll, that rosé. And most people think of rosé in the summer, right? That's just what naturally comes to mind. The summer, beach, pool, all those things. There's actually a couple really good reasons to enjoy rosé during the winter. For one, it's always on sale. So this guy that is normally $20, I got for about 10 bucks, okay? And number two is rosé actually pairs fantastically well with really heavy holiday meals. I really like to use it as a foil, or sort of an opposite feeling, you know, with those heavier foods. This is a great palate cleanser, and it really just is really lovely to go along with those bigger foods, right? So this wine comes from Provence, which is sort of the OG home of rosé, if you may. I received this wine as a sample over the summer, and I have subsequently purchased it probably 4 times. And like I said, now I got it for half price because I bought it in December, or maybe I bought it in November. So it has that delicate Provence style. It is just so lovely, so lovely. Perfect. Oh, got it. Okay, perfect. I got a note that I need to move closer. So Chateau de Bern, this one's actually not, it's a little hard to see, but that's the limitations of Zoom. You have it. So it's just, like I said, that really delicate, dry Provence style. This is exactly what I need to do to pretend that I'm in the south of France right now and not in my living room. All right, perfect. Let's move on. And oh, Erin, you got the wines going in there. Perfect. Okay, now we're moving on to reds. Okay, so we are going to first do a Pinot Noir. So I had Joe and Megan type in that they love Pinot. That is their favorite wine. Let's see. We have, let me show you first what I have. I have Charles Woodson's Intercept. This is Monterey County Pinot Noir. I'd be remiss if I did not include a Black-owned winery in my lineup here. The diversity and representation is so badly needed in our industry, and it's so important to showcase those brands, especially when the wine is kick-ass. So let's see. Let's get started with this Pinot Noir. I'm always on the lookout for a good Pinot at 20 bucks a bottle, and I can tell you that most of the time I come up totally just underwhelmed. You know, $20 Pinot is really tough to find. As I said before, it is really easy to make subpar Pinot. It's very difficult to make really good Pinot at an affordable price point, okay? But Charles Woodson has done it. This is the Intercept wines, like I mentioned. Big aromas of breadfruit, cracked black pepper, lots of really good stuff here. Charles Woodson, for those who don't know, and I have to look at this because I'm not the sports person, he is a Super Bowl champion and he retired NFL great. Oh my God, my cat and dog might have a fight live on Zoom here. He's Super Bowl champion, retired NFL great. So from football to wine, talk about a nice trajectory here. So Charles Woodson Intercept, and this wine I didn't mention is $20. So really, really great wine. And I think it has some really nice distribution, so it might be relatively easy to find. All right. Now, poor Merlot. She was revered around the world, and then she fell from grace in the early 2000s, right? After the movie Sideways, she was kicked to the curb by the sexier and difficult Pinot Noir, dangerous Pinot Noir, right? But, you know, let's not sleep on Merlot. I absolutely love Merlot. I call it Cabernet's redheaded younger sister. Her wines tend to be full and lush and full of red fruit. And for 17 bucks, I was wickedly impressed with this. So we have the Be Human Merlot 2018, and this is from Columbia Valley, Washington as well. I found it warm, balanced, juicy, really fruity. I really, really love this wine. Really great price as well, at 17 bucks. And I'm thinking it might go well with, as I was thinking about a pairing for this guy, I thought of like a slow cooker pot roast or something like that, maybe on a Sunday in December. That's kind of the vibe I'm feeling with the Be Human Merlot. Perfect. Thanks, Megan, for dropping in that note about Intercept. Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to our next wine. Okay, so remember we talked about the 13th generation Trimbach family in Alsace? I think that was our first wine. Now we're in Italy, specifically Chianti. Okay, and I'll move this a little close so people can see it. The Mazet family has been making wine for, get this, 25 generations. I literally can't even wrap my head around that, okay? This wine is a dream. La Badiola is the name of a 12th century church on site at Castello di Fontericcioli, which is the property where this wine is made. They named the adjacent vineyard Badiola as well, hence the name. And it is the highest altitude of the estate. This wine is elegant and it's fresh, and it's made from 100% Sangiovese, which is the main grape in Tuscany. Red fruits and spice and silky tannins. My note here is that I found it complex, yet austere and restrained, which are two words, those last two words that I normally don't attribute to Italian wines. And I just really found this to be just super, super, super elegant, really divine. Okay, so this is the Castello di Fontericcioli Badiola 2017 Chianti Classico Gran Selezione at $99 a bottle. Leave it to the Italians to put about 20 words in the name of the wine title here. Really, really delicious juice here. All right, now I had a couple people who mentioned that they like this particular wine. I had Cameron write in and Alicia. So we have here we go, Viña Don Melchor. This is the Cabernet Sauvignon Puente Alto Vineyard in Chile. So this is definitely a showstopper. This is from the, and this is a hard name to pronounce, Giuli Sasti family in Chile. They own Don Melchor, which is under the Concha y Toro portfolio, but Viña Don Melchor is a standalone as an independent winery, okay? This is their Maipo Valley single vineyard Cabernet. It has 98% Cabernet Sauvignon, 2% Cabernet Franc, and it is stunning. They pull from 7 different parcels of their Cabernet Sauvignon vineyard, and they micro-vinify 150 different batches of this wine. Then they do their tasting trials, and then they do their final blending. This is definitely a collector piece. It comes in a beautiful box that I don't have handy, and I'm sure it can be aged for a very, very long time. Really exquisite. Like I mentioned, this guy is $100 a bottle, so these last two are big showstoppers. All right, we are 2/3 of the way done. A few more wines to go. Remember, if you have any questions or anything, I'd love to be able to answer those for you. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. We are now going to move on to a couple different fortified wines, okay? One of my favorite categories. Let me get this ready. I specifically prefer dry fortifieds, which is why I selected these last two wines. That was my cat. I don't know what he's doing. Let's see. Sherry is kind of an oft forgotten category. Most people just think of their grandmother drinking cream sherry or something like that. But there really are some dry or drier fortified wines, okay? So in the sherry hierarchy, and before I tell you that, let me just show you what I've got here. I have Lustau, Bodegas Lustau, Amontillado Sherry, Los Argos. Okay, so in the sherry hierarchy, Amontillado, the style, falls right in the middle. You have Fino Sherry, Oloroso, and then in the middle you have Amontillado. Okay, Amontillado actually begins as a Fino Sherry. But what happens is it is fortified, which means some extra alcohol is added. It's fortified to about 13.5% alcohol. And what happens is a cap of yeast is actually formed on the barrel, the top of the barrel where the wine sits. And if that limits the exposure to air, so it limits the oxidation. But if that layer of yeast doesn't fully materialize, then we have a problem. And without that layer of yeast, the Amontillado must be fortified again to approximately 17.5% alcohol so that it does not oxidize too quickly. But oxidation is a good thing when it comes to sherry. So there is some oxidation. This wine is filled with really, really rich, nutty flavors that I dig. I'm a really big savory flavor person, and so sherry just is my jam. Who here has had this style of sherry, Amontillado? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And this is really spectacular. It's a steal. I didn't mention this Lustau Amontillado sherry is $11, okay? 11 bucks. Okay, perfect. Tread lightly though, as this wine clocks in at 18.5% sherry. I'm sorry, 18.5% alcohol, which is a bit high. So that's why it's in a little bit smaller bottle. So just be real careful with that, but enjoy really, really lovely Amontillado sherry. Okay, perfect. Alicia cooks with that sherry. You should drink it too. It's delicious, I promise. All right, so now we have another one, another fortified port. People who don't like sweet wines go, oh, I'm automatically right off port. They just don't want to even touch it. But there really are dry and sort of off dry ports. Okay, perfect. So let me just, hold on, I've got a question in here. Perfect. All right, so it was just a comment. Okay, so our wine here, we have Dow's 20-year-old Tawny Port at $67 a bottle. Costs money to age wine for 20 years, my friends. Actually, it's aged longer, but that's a different show. All right. So like I mentioned, port, this is actually a more dry style. Tawny port specifically are aged in very small oak barrels, and they're gradually exposed to oxygen, which actually lightens the color of the wine. So instead of being red, if you've ever had a sweet red port, this is not that. This actually has more brown, amber, tawny color. And just like the sherry, you get really, really nice developed nutty, toasted nuts, like toasted nuttiness that is just fantastic. The average age of the wines are 20 years. We also have a 10-year-old sherry, I think, I'm sorry, a 10-year-old port that they do that is 39 bucks, I think. Okay. So really, really lovely. I'm just trying to expose you guys to new different things that maybe you haven't had a chance to try before. Because like I said, a lot of people just write off fortifieds. They think cream sherry, gross, or they think they don't like sweet port. So they just write the whole category off. And there's actually some other fun styles there. All right, perfect. All right, so let's move on. I've got 2 wines left here. Oh, Nicole, you did miss the rosé, but you'll catch it in the replay. Okay, so I saved the best for last. Okay, this was definitely the most popular category when people registered for the webinar. I had Robert, Remy, Diane, Susan, Kelly, and a few others note that bubbly is their favorite category. And also I figured since we're going into 2021, we're going into New Year's, let's save sparkling for last. Okay, so I have 2 different bottles of bubbly that I'm gonna share with you. So I have Champagne Laurent Perrier, Blanc de Blanc Brut Nature. This retails for $80 a bottle. Founded in 1812, Laurent Perrier was actually the first champagne house to use only stainless steel fermentation tanks versus oak barrel. Okay, so this gives our wines freshness, elegance, acidity, lots of good stuff. Purity, really pure fruit with those stainless steel fermented champagnes. And to stay along those lines, we added the Brut Nature part, which means that no dosage is added. Okay, so that means that this wine, these bubbles are dry AF. Okay, so if you're into really, really dry, high acid, very austere, wine that kind of makes you pucker your lips when you take a sip, you might like this bad boy. Really, really bright citrus notes. And like I said, that really, really strong acid backbone. I would tear this wine up with seafood. I'm thinking like grilled prawns, maybe grilled scallops. Erin doesn't know it yet, but I think this is gonna be our New Year's Eve bubbles. So I gotta get that in the fridge, ready to go for December 31st. Okay. We have our last bottle of bubbles here. So I have the Ferrari Rosé, non-vintage at $35.99 a bottle. Ferrari is the Italian sparkling wine house. Fun fact, Ferrari is the bubbly of choice for wedding toasts in Italy. Everyone always has to have Ferrari. I just love that. It's sort of that classic and iconic of a brand in Italy. This wine is a blend of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Rosé versus the standard brut when it comes to bubbly, what is the difference? Rosé tends to give you more structure and of course like the red fruit notes from those red grapes. I choose rosé bubbles when I want that backbone. Sometimes I just want the light sort of Blanc de Blanc feel, but rosé just has like a nice like oomph to it, right? So I've had this bottle many, many times and it does not disappoint, and I can't wait to enjoy this one again. All right, perfect. Erin, noted. All right, perfect. Any questions, guys? I see something in the little notes here. Perfect. I think it's the same one that I opened last time, which is all good. So that's all I've got for now, folks. So I hope you enjoyed my 12 best bottles, my little experiment here. As we move out of one of the, I think, toughest years in our lives, for many, many people here. As we move into what I hope will be a new, amazing, and transformative year for us as individuals, for the world. Who knows? Maybe there will be a collective consciousness shift, which would be awesome. So everyone, yes, stay healthy, stay grateful. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like I mentioned, I would love to get feedback, so please send it my way. Erin can drop in the chat box again my social media handle, Somspirations. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. This could be a TV show. I don't know, Carl. Does anyone want to know what I'm wearing on the bottom? Pajamas. Thank you, everyone. Megan, thank you so much. Thanks, Robin. And another Erin. Perfect. So yeah, thank you, everyone. I'm going to head out. If there's any questions, we'll give it 1 second, but I think we are awesome. Thanks so much. Have a good evening. Cheers. I don't have wine, but cheers. Travesty, right? For show number 2, that's my first comment. Must have wine. Good night, everyone.